Welcome along, everyone. What was it like, that experience, jumping into your first race?
It's been my life ever since I can remember.
Look, it really was unbelievable.
I think it's awesome.
Just go out there and give it your all every time. And
when you're young and you get in your old man super stock and you wreck it, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Craig Booker with the big smile. He is the voice that's behind what you get to hear every Sunday night.
Give it the hoot, Eddie. Look at that field. Doesn't it look fantastic?
Oh, okay, everyone. Hey, welcome along to Trackside with Kokpit, proudly brought to you by Garage 16. We're back for day two, second straight night as we build up to the big Grand Prix that's happening down at Ocean View Speedway in Wanganui. Gets underway tomorrow and also on Saturday night. Good to see a good number of cars, just under 60. The groups, Group 1, but my mate will talk more about that one. Booker's with us right now. How are you going, Books?
Oh, I'm doing good, mate. That Group 1 group for the GP is that, you know, we talk about it as groups come out over the years, and we all talk about the group of death or this and that. But, mate, that Group 1, you know, I was talking today about it, Kins, to a couple of people, and, you know, I think to make things a bit more even moving forward, that maybe we need to look at seeding drivers, and then you put them into their groups and then put the ones that aren't seeded in, you know, so you have a even sort of flow of groups, because it is hard. How Wanganui did it for their GP, you couldn't have done it any fairer, you know, like the live draw. Exactly. They had two, Kerry O'Connor and someone else, I think, drawing them out, and you couldn't get any more fairer than that for them. But just the way it worked out, that Group 1 group, man, holy moly, it's going to be tough. I'll tell you what, it's going to make the Ripper Charge a hell of a race too, isn't it?
Yeah, with six getting through, obviously, then you got the Ripper Charge from each group, but that's taking nothing away, obviously, from the other three groups as well. They're all going to be tough. Everyone's going to try and get through on Friday. Turn 1, Turn 2, and it is the wall. It's not the rule, as I thought it was, having a good chat with Trent James last night, but yeah, that wall is going to be not forgiving, I would guess. But anyway, we're here to talk about the GP. Obviously, way back in 76, 77, it started off, then 78 back-to-back in Palmerston North. Bit of history going way back there as well. Good friend of ours, Richie Nichols. I see his dad was actually second, Lenny Nichols.
In the first year.
In the very first year. Clive Elliott, who's still racing today, he was 980W, would you believe? So there's your triple numbers way back then. Bill Giles won the first one, the 8W car from out of Wellington back in the mid-70s. But it's all about the build-up to obviously getting the fans along to Ocean View Speedway, get along there and support it. We caught up yesterday with Darren, the president of the club, all the work they've done behind the scenes in the off-season. There's been a lot of work done down there. Then, of course, we caught up with young Trent James, who was only 17, who will be racing at the GP as well. Outstanding debut in the Superstock last year. Come home second in that big $10,000 cash down in Timarua Speedway, Wellington, just recently. But yeah, mate, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, Book and I can't make it down there to be with yous. We'll be watching and buying the stream from the Pits Media. Yep. So that's one way to watch
Pits Media stream and support them and support the meeting by watching it there. If we could make it, we would, Kins, you know, especially when you look back, we got this information in front of us, the history and the names that are on the podium on this GP, you know, it's incredible, some of them, you know. I mean, you've even got Frankie Wayman made the podium, and I see there was another UK driver there too. Would I see that somewhere? Pete Folding, 33 UK back in 87 was on the podium, you know. So it's got a great history, you know, and the best way to keep a great title and history going is to support it and get as many drivers as we can to it each year. And Wanganui's doing their darndest this year to make it a great event, and they've certainly got some good numbers this year, Kins.
Yeah, 100% books, and get along there, check it out, and they've made it affordable, made it be family orientated as well, and like we said, it's going to be huge. So if you got nothing to do, you may want to go along and check that out. There are other live streams that's going to be available as well. There's another big meeting down at Woodford Glen, which is the New Zealand Modified GP. I do know there's a big sidecar event happening at Palmerston, at Prestige, Robertson Prestige Speedway as well in Palmy. So there's a few big meetings on this weekend, but just make sure you support your local live stream opportunity people out there as well. Yeah. Anyway, let's catch up with our...
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing before we move on and get these amazing guests on. Kins, we had Fred on last night to talk about what's happening on the 9th at Huntly. I read the comments. People, you need to open these things and listen what's being said. Okay, so yes, that event, the Pollux Superstock Teams invitation was cancelled.
Yes.
The event that is now on is a development teams with 4 teams, not 8 teams. So it's not the same meeting. So saying, oh, it's on again, off again, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. So they got 4 teams coming to do some teams racing, got all other classes. It is not the original event, which was the Pollux Superstock Invitational teams. Okay, so please stop making stupid comments, people. Pay attention. Just the best way to get over it is go out there and support it. Same as this weekend, Get out there and support the GP on the 9th. Get out and support Huntly for their teams, and then of course we've got some great meetings coming up after that, but we'll get onto that more.
And come and catch up with us too, because we'll be doing the commentary at Huntly as well. So looking forward to helping out Reed and Fiona and Ed and all the team out there as well. All right, is the people have seen the poster you put together, books. Obviously, a couple of big legends going to join us.
Mate, let's bring in the legends of Speedway. Hey, we've got Stan Hickey and Tony Mac. T-Mac, how are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, great.
That's
well,
awesome.
2 legends in your own right. Used to, really. The reality of this is we see your names on the GP multiple times, obviously, whether it's been 1, 2, or 3. GPs where it's all led, and it's the kind of the build-up to this big weekend. Tony, you've been there for years, mate. You've got some connection to the V as well from way back in the early 80s.
Yeah, that's right. I lived in Wanganui in 69 and 70. And now I am 69 going on 70. Not quite how that happened. But, I contracted to Wanganui in 82 and raced for the Wanganui Warriors. Did my first ever teams race for the Wanganui team. And it was actually against the Panthers. And I actually picked up Brian Anderson and poked him into the tight corner and wrecked him and still managed to win the race. So I was finally accepted as a Wanganui Warrior. I'd earned my stripes, so life got a bit easier up there for me at that time because, boy, they first smashed me every week. We just about lifted the car up and put it on the trailer with 2 tow trucks. But, we got over that and kept coming back, so earned my stripes, and, it was a huge learning curve for me.
So how did you get into... stock cars is way back then. How did it all come about?
Well, I started actually in saloons in a 64 EH Holden, a saloon car, but I didn't like that. You couldn't hit anyone. So, the next year I bought Clark Proctor's car, Ford V8. I think it was ex-Joel Wright car, and with a Hillman body on it. And, and a year or 2 after that, I built the number 7 car, the first Able Autos car, and then 28 years later, I finally pulled the pin, and been a great ride, and wouldn't change anything really. I love the sport, and it's a man's sport.
Yeah, sure is, mate. Stan, your introduction to Speedway, how did that all happen, mate?
Oh, when it first kicked off in Rotorua, I went to a few meetings the first couple of years. And then I was actually offered a drive of a car a farm away out Murupara way. And I got a few places in C grade. It was just A, B, and C in those days. And then, the years went by and I couldn't afford it. So I didn't actually race back seriously till I was 46. and that's when I sort of got back into it, and the business was going better, and and we could afford a bit better gear, and and it just carried on from there.
So when you talk about your starting, Tony, back in the 80s, what was it? Did you have a mechanical background, or who talked you into jumping behind a wheel and getting out there on the dirt and doing a few overlaps? Who talked you into it?
Oh, look, from the first meeting I ever went to, I was, wanted to be a stock car driver, but Bruce Perkins in Wanganui, local mechanic, I worked for him after school. I was at college in Wanganui in '69. And, so that's, we moved to Wellington after that. And then Gil Mallia down here was a great mentor of mine. I built a number 7 car at his place. I only had a carport and a flat, I didn't have any gear, but I built the 7 car. So, a lot of people think, you start off with a lot of money, but, everything that in those early days, as Stan just said, you had to earn the money yourself and build your own car and maintain it and pay all the bills, and a bit different to today.
Yeah, very much so. Hey, Tice Adamson, good to have you on board watching. This one you'll know, Stan. Samuel Ashton's busy watching the show tonight, young Sam. So he's joined on board with us as well. David Clark, Loz, if I remember rightly, happy birthday, mate. I'm not too sure it was today or earlier in the week. So Loz from Oz, happy birthday. Paul Mason, Thomas Jr. Hoodanui's on there. Our good mate Quasi from Aussie. Quasi from Aussie, Richard Walken. Yeah, got the rhymes going. We'll start singing a song again, boxing. Flynn Ashton, Warren Buchanan, Muddy Goodley, always watching. Nana Gale, hello, Nana Gale. What do we got here? Clive won in 1979, the GP. Thanks, Muddy. Dave Thomas, always full of information for us. 2 times Mooney in group. 2 times Levine in a group as well, and 2 Rees in a group as well. Yeah, there's some tough groups ahead this coming weekend. Turn 1 in Wanganui. That is going to be a car killer. You're right there, Warren. Bevan, good to have you on the show. Richie Mason, Brian Walker, Aaron Ferguson. The list just goes on. Scott Honeybone, as always. Megan Vickery's watching. Megan says, hi, Papa.
So I'll get in there. Kins, we're all about the GP this weekend and everything like that. But for you, Stan, I'm going through the list. I think you've probably podiumed the most across all the years for that GP, mate. I mean, your record for the Nzgp looks pretty good, mate. It was always an event that you obviously went well out. I mean, we're talking, where did it start? What did I first see your first one? 99, 98, 99 you got second. Yeah. And then back-to-back thirds, 01 and 2000. Then another second in 03, and then back-to-back firsts 04, 05. So your GP seems to be the one for you, mate.
Yeah, we did travel around a lot in those days, and as previous to that, we couldn't afford to go anywhere. But and I was lucky enough to have a good car at the time. Well, it got better and better every couple of years. We'd upgrade it, and so it was just the way it was, and you got to have a lot of luck. My philosophy or whatever it is, you need 3 things. You've got to be a good driver, and you need a good car, and you need a lot of luck. And sometimes it goes your way, and sometimes it doesn't.
So someone's sitting there thinking to what you just said in regards to that good role of being on the podium, Stan. Someone's going to ask her, which car was this we're talking about that you pedalled?
Oh, about 4 of them, I think. No, I don't know. Probably every, we're lucky enough, and Murray Gorge kept updating them, and Tony Marsh kept getting a bit more power and out of the engines, and so I don't know which car they were, but I think the first one might have been in the old Holden, and then got the Ford, which Tony referred to as Zephyr. And and I think the last few were both with the Fords, I think.
Okay. So, Tony, you've actually been on the podium 99 to 2000, moving into the new millennium. And Nelson, ahead of Frankie Wayman and Barry Podolsky.
Yeah, that was a memorable event, actually. Stan and I finished, I think, third equal, but we'd had a few fizzies by the time but by the time they announced that, about, like, it was after midnight, wasn't it, Stan?
Yeah.
And the New Zealand champs I'm talking about in Blenheim.
Yeah.
And then we went to Nelson after that, and I struggled, actually. I really struggled badly, and but one of the things I'll share with you that I did that a lot of young competitors could probably take note of is I took myself off from everybody else, and I just I actually put my hands over my eyes like goggles, and I just watched Craig Boot go round and round and round, and I listened to his throttle and his braking and everything else, and I went out in the first practice run, and he came up to me after the first practice run, and he said it takes most people 3 meetings to get on the line at Wanganui, at Nelson, and it took you 3 laps. And I just looked at him and winked, and I said, well, I had a good teacher.
Yeah, and
so every track has a line, you know. If you watch the local guys, you can glean a lot off them, you know. And then the first there was 3 heats and then a final, and I struggled. I was hopeless. I think I started on grid 15 or 16 or maybe even 18. I was way down the field for a 25 lap final, but I've never done more changes to my car in my life than I did before that final. And it was either going to be a rocket or an absolute lemon. And fortunately for me, it turned into a rocket. And I've never had an advantage over the field like I did down there. I could literally keep them off on the primaries of the carburetor. And they were swinging at me, and my tyres were cold, and I won it with ease. Actually, it was one of the best meetings I've ever done, and I never got an advantage like that before or after the GP, where I felt like I just had the field covered. The car was just amazing. So interesting.
Yeah,
sometimes
Nelson was one track, Tony, that I could never get used to, and maybe you could have given me a bit of advice in those days, and I might have been there with you. But no, I could never. New Zealand champs there and Grand Prix, and I can't remember what other meetings we did there, but I don't think I ever won a race in Nelson. And maybe I needed to do what you did.
A real difficult little track, because it sort of comes down and it sweeps into the corner, and it's got a fish hook off the fast bend, and then it's got like almost a Wanganui corner at the bottom. So it's a driver's track, a little bit like Stratford and Wanganui.
Yeah,
you got to be on your game, because if you're not, you're open for it. If somebody wants you, they'll get you.
Frankie was good at there though. Well, he's good at every track, isn't he?
Frankie's good. Man, he's just a freak, that guy.
It's Frankie Wayman we're talking about, are we?
Frankie Wayman.
Yeah. Wayne Hemi was running second behind me in that GP, and Frankie took him out in the last corner big time. and Wayne absolutely smacked the dummy. Coming off the track, 90 miles an hour through the pits, drove onto the trail. There was buckets and gear sets and stuff. Started his car up and drove off. The car was tied on. Car fell off the trailer going down the road and ended up parked in a petrol station. Parked at the pumps in a petrol station because it sort of left in a bit of a rush. And so boy, he was a bit unhappy, but he was. It's going to be his first ever podium finish in a major championship, but it just Frankie plucked it out of his pocket. Oh, shit.
All those memories, Aiken, back in the day. It's awesome. How did you go at Wanganui Speedway, Stan? With it been since we're talking about them this weekend and their track, how did you go there?
Won the odd race, but I never had much luck there overall. It's the same as that turn 1 is like Rotorua, but a bit longer straights. It's if you can get around that turn 1 and that first lap, it's like Rotorua basically.
Yeah,
it's pretty tough going, but other than that, it's just another stock car track.
And you, Tony, with that track,
Yeah, well, I contracted there in '82, so I certainly cut my teeth there. And even going way back in those days, I had full power disc brakes, and nobody else had. They had shitty old drum brakes, and my car had amazing brakes. And I used to drive into that tight corner, dead straight, and I could see the whole of Evan Mooney's car on my mirror sideways behind me. The 44. Because he used to really back it in there. But I always went in real straight and tight. And I don't think anybody ever got me off the end, because I just had such fantastic brakes, slow in, fast out. And, that Wanganui track, man, there was some legends racing in those days. There was like Roy Eaton, Charlie Bernstein, Bob Smith, Evan Mooney, George Duncan. They were all, I represented the Warriors at the teams champs, and it was real education for me as a rookie to have such incredible experience around me, and they certainly taught me the hard way in the first half of the season. But it was a huge learning curve for me, that's for sure.
You mentioned the name Mooney, well-known name to, of course, Wanganui. I see one of the Mooney boys is jumping in one of the James's car. We're talking a young Trent James. Believe it or not, he's only 17, mate. And he did really well at the 240s. He's actually got an automatic qualification for 240s coming up in January. But this young kid, just so young. He done well at the New Zealands. But I do know one of the Moonies is driving his brother's car because his brother's out with a bit of action. Shane Hawkins is watching. You'd know the Hawkins name very well, Tony. A real good guy in real life and on the track. Young Shane, obviously with Eddie. Hey, team, watching from the practice at the V at the moment. Grant Fowler, so some of the cars are doing a bit of practice. We had a few viewers from over in Australia as well. We see our good friend Blue Rawadi's watching. Elvis Rollins still ripping around in the old tank at the moment, going hard. Connor Orgren, Neil Gooch, Steve Mark, Steve-O, that is, Reese Ward, and Scott Phillips is watching as well. Welcome to the show, everyone. It's the build-up to this weekend with the GP. So obviously there's a bit of practice going on, and it'll race tomorrow. Pitts Media has the official live stream, and like we said at the start of the show, Booker and I won't be able to make it down there this weekend. It's time to stay at home. He's got to spend time with his dog, Lexi, and the grandkids. And
I've got grandkids on the way at the moment, so I'm just watching my messenger, seeing the updates of the daughter having a baby right now, so that's pretty cool. But listen, if you can make it to the track this weekend to Wanganui, please make the effort and go, because we need to support all our tracks in this country and keep them going. The last few years have been tough with the weather and COVID for a lot of tracks, so if you can get in your car and go put your bum on the seat, go do it, because you won't regret it. 100% you won't regret it. It's all good, and we like to support Jason, the streams and all that, but nothing beats sitting there having a bit of dirt flunny, eating a hot dog, and you miss nothing. So if you can make it, go and support the track, no matter what track it is, what season, and just sit in that seat.
Great club rooms.
Yeah.
Great club rooms too.
Yeah. Look, even T-Max smiling at that comment too. I'd say you two have had quite the few ales in those club rooms, have you?
Oh. Yeah, we're not going to go there. Look, Wanganui is a real stock car track. There's no doubt about that. If someone wants you, they're going to get you.
Yeah.
So the action will be aplenty and wild. So I'm totally on board with going along and having a good time. It'll be an amazing event for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned club room, Stan. Just thanks to yourself and the club there, the committee too, because Booker and I and a couple of other friends got to experience watching the racing last Saturday from in the club rooms, and appreciate you coming to talk to us and many others as well. And some of the memorabilia, wow. I know you've showed Craig some real old history there, but what I saw around in the club rooms, impressive, very impressive.
Yeah, no, a lot of it's still packed away, and I was showing Booker the other day. We need to get it out. This photo's Tony Mac's old car going way back, I think. The flat chassis before he built the tri rail. The lots of old photos there that are quite interesting to look at.
Mm.
And
We
the
speak-
T-shirts will have all
Yeah.
old T-shirts from past, and Sonia's sewn them all up into a bunting and put checker flags between them. I don't know how many she's done. There must be, I don't know, 60, 80 of them.
Oh,
or
there's a
something.
shitload
And
hanging
she's
up
still
there.
got more to
Yeah.
do. Mm.
Yeah, they look awesome. Absolutely awesome.
We've interviewed
Bryce
a lot of
Penn.
Bryce Penn.
Yeah, Bryce Penn raced my old number 7 car at the New Zealand title, and he won the first 2 heats at Rotorua.
Yeah.
And he showed them too much, and man, they smashed him in the third one. Absolutely smashed him. And Barry Hunter ended up with that car as well, so he had a good time at Roger Bertram. Actually built the engine for him, and so then it came back to Wellington, and the guy that's got it now, Duncan Gollop, he's had that car for over 30 years.
Shit.
There's a classic.
Yeah, still going. You know, we've interviewed many superstock drivers on the show over the time we've been going, and you ask the question, it's always someone that pops up, ask them what their favorite track is. They always talk Rotorua. How did you go there, Tony? How in your laps there at Rotors, how'd you go?
Yeah, pretty good. Probably wasn't one of my best, most successful tracks, but it's a funny old thing that the mind is, as they say, it's 80% subconscious, and I always had this bogey track which was Palmerston North, and I used to just about book a bed in the Palmerston North Hospital because I got broken bones and rolled and burnt, and oh god, everything happened to me bad at Palmerston North. And then when I built the Silver Bullet, I had a complete mind change. I said to myself, I love Palmerston North and I'm going to go well there. And the next couple of seasons I won the 240s there, and we won the teams, and that was just me changing my mindset towards the track. So you've got to be very careful what you wish for, because surely you'll get it.
Mm-hmm. It's quite comical that we speak to you two gentlemen because, and you touched on it earlier, in Blenheim, Booty won it and Joe Farron comes second, but the both of yous obviously had a few fizzies. Well, I couldn't get a sorted into a runoff. You both ended up with 3 NZ. Is that right? Did you both have the 3 NZ on your cars at that time?
Yeah, I did,
No.
but I don't know if Tony did. But yeah, we just put 3 NZ equal on it.
So there's no runoff
Yeah.
there, but what's the runoff with was it Kib Lace? Is it the runoff we're supposed to ask you about?
No, that was in Wellington the year after. Tony
Yeah,
will remember that.
So what's
he
the
was
deal with that
standing with
runoff,
Sonia.
mate? I've been told to ask you about that runoff, Stan. You better fill us in.
Yeah, well, I don't know how it turned out, but we suddenly had to go out for this runoff, and they watered the track, and we weren't sort of prepared for it, and we just went out as we were. And Kim Lace did leave me behind, and I remember Sonia telling me later that she was standing with Tony. Tony said, "Oh, you'll never catch Kim." And I took a dive at him coming out of turn 4. And I don't know really what happened, but I know I went head first into the wall, and it split all the inlet manifold. And I was chugging along, and the rest of the last lap, and I was winded as shit. And I was looking in the mirror, and I thought, if I see Kim, I've got to pull infield, because I was buggered. But I didn't see him, so I chugged around and ended up winning it. And Kim was still sitting there. And Kim and I still laugh about this every time we see each other. He said, "Yeah, prick," And we always have a beer over it. And it was just about a suicide hit. If I'd missed him, I would have probably killed myself, I think. But, that's stock car racing. You got to have a go, and you see a lot of these runoffs, and if you want to win it, you've got to have a go.
And what were you thinking, Tony, when you saw him do the big dive bomb, mate, after just saying that he wouldn't make it?
Oh, well, if you keep your foot in, something's going to happen. It worked out good for Stan that night, but
It's good, eh? We've seen some good runoffs over the years, haven't we, Kins, with different drivers, and it's our sport is so amazing, and how it's progressed now though with everything. You think that what changes would you think you'd like to see now in the sport if you were involved in it and you thought to yourself, oh, that's not quite right, or that's not quite right? You think the cars have advanced quite a bit there, Tony, or what's your thoughts on all that, on the new stuff?
Oh, I think the cars are probably a little better, and there's a lot more cars, more even. I mean, you look at the old Silver Bullet when that was built, it was probably a bit ahead of its time, but it's still relatively competitive today with a fairly old engine in it compared with what a lot of the guys are running now. But yeah, I think the cars have got a little bit quicker, but yeah, some of the rules do me in, to be quite fair. And yeah, I'm just I like more the fact that it's sorted out on the brown bit on the track, and then afterwards we get together and have a beer about it. But unfortunately these days there's so much social media and everyone's back chatting and being a bit disloyal and one thing and another, and I just hate all that. I just hate it bad. You got something to say to someone, say it to their face. Not to, don't use a platform to mouth off. And in regard to Red, etc., I was the president of the Wellington Club for 5 years, and it is a tough call to make make a decision to postpone or cancel a meeting, but it's certainly not done lightly, and it's not done for any other reason apart from the good of the competitors or the good of the clubs financially or the meeting itself. So, and there's a lot comes into play, as Red said. When you got big sponsors involved, etc., you've got to deliver on the promise, and if you can't deliver on the promise, sometimes you've got to compromise your position. And good on Red. He's been stalwart, as Sonia and Stan have too, of the Rotorua Club, and Stan, supporting Lyle Rumney for many, many years as well. I mean, the Speedway community support each other, through good times and bad. And there's I always say there's really good people involved in Speedway, because lazy people will not last in Speedway. You've got to be a doer, you've got to be a worker, you've got to be committed, otherwise you don't last. You just will not last in the sport.
Those sentiments mean so much, Stan, because Booker and I have seen you over the time we've been at Rotorua. You're out there on the track, doing what you need to do, and your workmates and your colleagues, you're there just about all week, because Booker told me all about that. But you would notice, obviously, with the speeds we see at the 240s and so forth, the development of the car and the whole package now is just next level, eh?
Yeah, I'm sort of agree with Tony. When he built that Silver Bullet, that was, the, I don't know, flashest or the most technology put into a car. And they haven't changed a lot, but we've got a bit more horsepower, flasher shocks than we used to have, and all this sort of stuff. And even like when I was getting new cars, it would come with different shocks and a slightly different suspension. But Tony was ahead of himself, or ahead of everyone else. And putting that first Nissan in, well, that saved the sport. The Nissan and the Toyotas have been the best thing that's ever happened for Superstocks. When you look around, there's probably be lucky to be, I don't know, 8 or 10 Chevs or Fords out there. All the rest are quad cams, and Tony started that, and it's I don't know where the sport would be if they weren't around. And saying they are going a little bit faster because you're getting around the corners quicker. I don't know if you're going down the straights a lot quicker, but the handling of the cars has improved that much. And going on about tracks having to cancel because of weather, that is the hardest decision to make. Sonia and I have been doing it for the last 20 odd years, and even with Sam there now, we're standing there the other night, shall we not? And I was actually joking at the time about 3 o'clock, and Rod McNaughton, he gives me a lot of time on the track as well now. He's a little bit older than me. And I said to Rod, come on, we're going to the pub, stuff this, and old Sam just about buddy, he didn't know what to say, But we're only joking, and we got the track back. But yeah, and Red, he's had a prick of a run up there, in the last couple of years with all the rainouts and that. You've got to feel sorry for him. And, he's another guy that works his butt off for that, club and the track up there. But it's what we like to do. So that's why we do it.
Yeah, well, it emulates what Tony said, isn't it? If you don't want to work hard, you don't last. So it's only really left to the good buggers in the sport, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially after what I've watched the last 2 weeks, where I've been at Huntley for the week and with yourself, Stan up there as well. And yeah, the time. I mean, Red even got me on the end of the bloody truck, hosing the pole line and spraying weeds, and so,
we're training young Sam. He was up there today on a shovel. We're cleaning all the top of the wall off and all that. And yeah, and I said, because I was on the Bobcat most of the time, and I said, Sam, how's your arm? You know, and he said, whoa, what's wrong with it? And I said, well, Rodney had to twist it to get you up on that wall, didn't he? But no, he's learning and he's keen and he asks the questions and we give him a bit of shit now and again, and it's all going good. And like Sonia's there to help him, so and he works out of the office here most, a lot of the time. So but he's keen enough to learn too and ask questions, and
you could see after spending the week up there, I could see the enthusiasm in Sam and how keen he is just to try and make the club better again, and just put so much time and effort in, and we need young people like that to come through, because we really do. And at all clubs, we need someone like Sam at each club to come through and say, hey, I'll go and do every job in the club and then I'm going to take your job, like Sam did, and we need that for our sport to survive, because without the clubs doing it, the competitors won't come. And Rotorua has proven, isn't it, Kins? Every person we get on this, virtually every driver we get on this track, what's your favourite track? Rotorua. Why? Oh, well, Stan and Sonia do such a great job and look after us and blah, blah, blah. And I think Sam will do the same thing. And
it wasn't, it was never my favourite track. I never used to like Rotorua at all. I would have rather raced in, I used to love Waikaraka. That's a real fast track. But the wall's quite hard there, though. But you're supposed to not go near the wall. But yeah. But no, and Palmy was not I've never really enjoyed Palmy that much. Probably Waikaraka and Christchurch were my favourite tracks.
Oh, wow.
What about you, Tony? What's your favourite tracks?
Oh, Wellington. Enjoyed myself at Rotorua. Always had a fantastic time. Just about every track I raced on. I remember the first time I raced at Blenheim, I thought, wow, this was amazing, because it was so fast. And you could actually hold your foot flat to the floor all the way around, because it had banking. So much banking on the corners, it actually pushed you down in the seat. And then we went to Christchurch, and that was a real hard little track on the engine, because you had the big long back straight and then into that tight corner. It was hard to pull off that tight corner. I remember when Jeff James first raced the Golden Nugget there, he was actually doing the old rally car thing, changing it into third gear coming off that corner and then away again, So, just in regard to the clubs, etc., I think we're really, really fortunate. We've got such good blood coming through. We've got young Aaron Musgrove running the Wellington track, and he's just doing such a stellar job for the club down here. He's a marketing goober. And the other thing too, you were talking about the car speed, is all these young guys coming through from mini stocks. They are so fast and so smooth and so accurate. And they just, they're much better drivers than, old stalwarts like Stan and I, because they cut their teeth in an underpowered car, a little bit like a go-kart, and they jump in the stock cars and super stocks, and they're just so fast. It's unreal.
Getting back to Wanganui, that's where the mini stock started. If it wasn't for, what's her name, Taylor, wasn't it? Starting the mini stocks off, and that has been another great thing for the sport. Just about every stock car or super stock driver and saloons and all that come out of mini stocks. And as Tony said, they learn so much before they get into these other classes, and they beat all the old buggers, and a lot of them are lucky enough to have parents that actually put the money in for them. Or my old man said, "What are you doing, bloody doing that sport for?" So I come up with every penny myself.
Wasting your bloody money.
But I wouldn't, like Tony, I wouldn't regret anything that I've done over the years. I spent a fortune on them, but I've got no regrets. Going to England, and Tony went over there, and he was one guy that really amazed me, because when you see Frankie's shed and the dirty overalls you got to put on, they just about stand up by themselves, you know. And but you know, Tony got stuck in there, and I don't know what we had to do, but there's always a lot to do over there to get your car ready. But yeah, we've met a lot of neat people overseas, and yeah, I've got no regrets at all. And as Tony said too, you know, it's just a great sport.
Mm. You've had some good times over there, Tony, in the UK, eh?
Mate, they Frankie Wayman and Sam, and they were fantastic, really. You know, I just can't speak highly enough of Frankie. He's just such an awesome driver, and he's a role model as well. You know, he should have moved out of stock cars a long time ago and gone to tin tops or something in the UK. He would have been a world class driver. And yeah, bit of a shame really in some ways that it was good for the sport, for our sport, but for him, you know, I think he had such massive potential as a driver. You know, the speed he could carry and the foresight and looking ahead and all the skills of a really good driver. He just had it in spades. Stan will absolutely know about that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the Great Britain Lions. Now you brought that up, talking Frankie. Obviously, you've been part of that for what? You did 4 or 5 seasons with the Lions as management?
Yeah, that's right. And part of the reason I got involved was to keep them safe, so they could walk onto the plane rather than getting carried onto the plane or in a wheelchair. And the other thing was Frankie was so good to me, I just wanted to pay him back a little bit for the hospitality he gave me while I was there, you know. So and Stan and Sonia were there at the same time, and you know, they're a great bunch of guys actually, and you know, everyone absolutely wrote the British Lions off when they first started coming here. But I think that first season, I think we got second.
Yep.
Probably their best ever finish, and you know, so they're good drivers. They're very, very fast, very accurate. They don't hit like we hit, but when they do hit, they hit you off the end of the straight, because that's what they do over there. They can't straight line you into the wall and take you with them, but they're so good at riding it out. You watch all those English drivers, you just, even guys like Peter Rees, I don't think anyone ever got Frankie off the end, you know, because he's just so square and accurate going into the turn that, you know, it never opened himself up for those king hits off the end. He did a few, yeah, for sure.
I remember watching him.
Peter Rees one night, rolled him over and caught fire, but yeah, he's a committed driver and great guy.
I remember watching him last year at the 240s in that final, you know, and everybody was on him to just stop him from getting across the line, and he still had damage and got whacked and put up the wall back down and still got third on the podium, you know. They just could not stop the guy. The talent and reading and seeing what's happening in front of him, you could watch him on the track. It just blew my mind in that third final. I couldn't believe it when they said he still crossed the line and finished third. It just, the attention that man took and kept going was incredible, wasn't it, Kins?
Oh, 100%. We had Jake Baker next to us, and he jumped up and down as soon as Ethan got over the line. You know, remember that? He ran down and he was just running down to the bloody pits. You know, you guys were just talking a bit about teams. Obviously, your history way back with the Warriors, Tony, but also well known with the Wildcats. And I know Stan has a bit of time with the Rebels. Did you two meet each other on teams racing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you, I've never actually said this to Stan, but we did a Friday night. I can't even remember. It might have been the South Pacific Teams Champs. I can't remember. We did, and we worked all day Saturday at Stan's workshop, and then we came up against Rotorua in the first race on the second night, and I'll give old Stan a bit of a clunk off the end, and he bent the bump around, and he was a bit winded, and I come around the next lap and he was just coming off the wall, and I thought he was going to have a poke at me, so I went in again and hit him in the left front bumper and bent that right out. And all Stan wanted to do was get into the middle, and then he finally got going again, and Wayne Hemi come in and king hit him up the date as well. All Stan wanted to do was get in the middle and get his breath back. So, yeah,
but then we had a beer together later.
Yeah. Did you ever get bloody paybacks on these Wellington Wildcats, Stan, eventually?
Not really. Well,
Yeah.
Sonia wouldn't. Even Tony said to Sonia, "About time that old prick bloody gave up back in teams racing." And because I was about bloody 50 something by then, and
Yeah.
and then she said, "No more teams racing,"
Yeah.
and it's completely teams racing is different to individual racing. You don't carry a grudge and take it out on something else. It's teams racing, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, it stays out there on the track. And Tony, I know we've spoken about this when we could a couple of days ago, the Darcy Hunter thing. He was all shook up.
Yeah, Darcy.
Remember
Yeah, I give him a bit of a bang off the end into the pit gate and helped by Uncle Barry. Uncle Barry was trying to get me off him. He could see it unfolding in front of him. And he tried to get me off him, and he gave me a big king hit up the date, which just about doubled my speed. But I was flat in third gear as it was, because I had an altercation a little bit further up the track, and I give old Darcy the big whack into the pit gate. It was a bit of a beauty. And anyway, it rolled a couple of times, and when it landed, my bumper was actually in his car, and I thought, God, I hope I haven't bloody hurt him, and I backed it out on the starter because it wouldn't start. And they eventually got Darcy out of the car, and he was pretty, been beaten up on that one. And anyway, the announcer rushed up to him and said, "Oh, how do you feel?" And he goes, Darcy did an Elvis impersonation, and he goes, "Ooh, I'm all shook up." It was unreal.
Yeah. But it's like what Stan said, you go and have a beer later, you shake it off and you're still good mates afterwards, eh?
Well, Darcy Hunter, when he won the New Zealand title, he pulled the trophy out of Shane Benn's pocket, and I thought that silver bullet's finally going to get a one on the door. But Darcy had a different idea, and Uncle Barry had been in his ear, and he was crafty enough, and he turned Shane in the bottom corner and took it, and we'd had a few run-ins with the Hunters over the years, respectfully, but I thought Darcy really despised me, and I went up and walked into the camp and shook Chris Allen's hand and Barry's hand and Darcy's hand and congratulated him winning the New Zealand title. And Darcy absolutely humbled me, because he said, all my racing career, Tony, I've just wanted to be like you, and it was very, very humbling for me, that a guy like him, looked up to me. So, it was Darcy all over, though, I think.
Just for you two legends here, Richard and Trudy Aldridge, how do you rate Stratford? Stan?
Yeah, no, I'd quite enjoy Stratford. It's very like Nelson, but I don't know, I've had more luck at Stratford, but mainly probably because I race there a lot more, it's not down the South Island. And I can't remember, I got third New Zealand's actually, I think, at Stratford. No, it's good track, all good club. They're all good clubs, like Gisborne and all that. They're all, we still get on well with them all, really good, all people. Yeah.
Tony, your thoughts on Stratford? You run many laps here?
Stratford is a driver's track, that's for sure. That D, and it hooks in the end before the grandstand, and you look at all those Stratford drivers, they're all really, really good drivers, like the Rotorua guys and the Wanganui guys and the Nelson guys. In actual fact, those tracks are really challenging, and all those guys from those, difficult little tracks to get the line, they're all really good competitors, they're fast, they're hard, and I enjoyed racing at Stratford. I don't think I ever excelled there, but I enjoyed it. It was a great track.
Shane and Karen Taylor, you guys are legends. Thank you both for everything you have done for Speedway. So that's a nice comment coming on through. Am's always watching, still doing some amazing work on his Only Am's page. Stan the man, one of many unlucky to win a New Zealand title alongside with yourself, T-Mac. Just one of those things. You guys have been bridesmaids just about, both of you. Sounds like Rodney Wood talking to him again as well, and many others.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's a tough thing to win, and Stan will tell you, we sort of had a bit of a battle with the Rotorua boys for a long time, and we ended up taking them out, or they took us out, and it was there was a fair bit of rivalry there for sure. Respectfully on the track, of course, but yeah, and I mean, I was so focused on the New Zealand title, and it meant so much to me. But just before I sort of pulled the pin and stopped racing, I actually sort of looked at the guys that had won the New Zealand title and thought, well, is it actually life-changing? It's a good box to tick, and it's a fantastic achievement to achieve in your life. But to me, the greatest thing for me was teams racing, and particularly winning the Palmerston North Teams Champs. That was just the pinnacle of my career. And we went really well up, and we won it a lot at Waikaraka, and then we won the South Pacific one at Rotorua, and we raced at the old Bay Park track and went really well there. We did Stratford teams racing. There was a lot more teams racing in those days than there is now, so the calendar's so full. It's hard to organise local teams racing, but there was regularly teams racing going on in the early days, but not so easy to arrange these days.
Yeah, I remember the Northern Classics at Rotorua back in the days, the good old times. And I remember that New Zealand team and the world team many years gone by. What was it with Palmy, Stan? It seemed to be the time I was down there growing up through the 90s watching the teams. There was always that battle between bloody Wellington and Rotorua, the Rebels and the Wildcats. Was it set up, really?
No, well, we're both fairly competitive in those days, and Rotorua was, and so were Wellington, and that we got second twice, I think, in a row to Wellington, and then Tony and actually Sonia got together, and we tried to get a bit more money out of Scotty. So, Scotty bit back, and he put us up first race of the next year. I still laugh about it, Sonia gives him shit about it all the time. You prick, I'll get you two back, We wanted more money, and but it was all good fun.
Yeah, it's having fun.
Yeah, well, certainly the Rotorua Wellington race would always seem to be that second race, first race on the second night on the wettest track. And Rotorua and Wellington would beat the living daylights out of each other, and whoever won would be, pretty wounded going into the final, because some of the other known teams would probably end up with a slightly softer grid draw than we had, and it was a bit of a cakewalk for them compared with what we went through. But like I used to say to our guys, it's their event, and the harder it is, the greater the reward, for actually winning it. So, yeah.
So for both of you at the moment, you obviously both highly involved still with the Speedway and watch it. Who do you think is who's the up and comers at the moment, mate, in the super stock class? Start with you, Tony. Who do you think, and then we'll move to you, Stan. Who do you watch at the moment that you think, man, that guy can drive? Or
yeah, I think a lot of really good guys. Oh, sorry, Stan. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good young talent coming through. Guys like Trent James. Trent, is that right? Yeah, and even Jeff James's boys are starting to go well, and there's just a whole raft of young guys that have come through from the mini stocks and stock car ranks, and it's going to be interesting. And so many guys, with the help of mum and dad, obviously they've just got such good gear these days, and they put new tyres on regularly, and guys like Stan and I used to buy 10 or 12 tyres for the season, and I used to do everything on my car myself, and but nowadays it's just different, and the money's certainly a lot more available to these young guys than it ever was for guys like Stan and I. We had to really work hard to get the dough to be able to afford to race.
You Stan, same question for you, mate?
I don't know. There's that many good drivers out there now with good gear, as Tony said. Back when Tony and I were racing, there was probably 10 or 15 top cars in the country. Now there's 115. they've all got good gear, and good engines and all that. It was not saying it was easier when we were racing, because you had all these other not so good cars. They would take you out, and I always found going to a New Zealand Champs or whatever, North Islands or something like that, was actually easier to qualify if you were actually in a good group, because you haven't got, Joe Bloggs that always took the top guys out. If he's not in your group, well, you had a fair chance of qualifying. But now to qualify could be any one of the 26 in that group. It's just a hell of a lot harder now.
Yeah, it's hard. And of course, you're privy to seeing one of your biggest events that you host at the track. It's the MIP, the Mini Stocks in Paradise. You get first class to see some of the young boys and girls now coming through in Mini Stocks. You're lucky to see all those young ones, and kind of looking at who's on track and how they're all going, which have big futures. Just to continue on from what Am said here, I didn't really like it when Stan raced at Huntley. He would always dominate all the time, but found your admiration and respect. He's got a lot of admiration and respect for you, Stan. You're always one-man band, didn't rely on anyone. You help anyone. You're a true legend of Rotorua. Keep up the awesome mahi you do for Rotorua, Stan. One of the best venues, clubs, tracks in New Zealand, hands down. That's from Ams, young Ams, who says a lot about you. Yeah. Well done, mate.
Thanks, Anthony. I never asked for any help in any championship. I just stuck to my own thing, and some people would come around and say, "Don't worry about me" or whatever, but I never ask one person for help. And I don't know, I got by. Sometimes I didn't.
Yeah, not the same, Stan. I never asked anyone for help. I raced on my own back, and I fought my own battles, and they were pretty tough battles sometimes, but it's just what it is.
Got one here from Craig Chatfield here. Silver Bullet, the best car I've ever driven. You reckons?
Yeah. Oh, that old Silver Bullet, man, that's just such an icon of Speedway, really, for Steve Jude to win the teams champs, when it was like 22 or 3 years old, whatever, at Palmerston, take the checkered flag in the final. That was just such a thrill for me. And then Chatty's boy winning the Huntley event last year, that car, it's built in 94, I think it was. 495 when Lyle Rumney won the New Zealand champs at Wanganui. So it's a very old car, and it's still doing it,
I think about it too, and I'm looking at some of the pictures of the car and the Nissan and blah, blah, blah. To date, would that be one of the oldest chassis still racing competitively in our sport?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it would be.
Yeah.
Well, even a guy like Dave Evans, who's built all those tanks and et cetera, he just said that Silver Bullet, teams racing wise, it's just been an absolute weapon, over the years. I mean, everyone that's had it. Shane Penn won multiple Palmy team champs in that car, but it never got a one on the door.
We better tell Chatty to get a move on this year, eh, Tony?
One on the door.
Hey?
Yeah.
We better get Chatty a move on this year.
It nearly did, mate, but bloody Darcy done that. Carlo Putaranui is actually, I just mentioned, he used to crew for Darcy for many years, Barry and Das. Much respect to you, Tony, from their family, one of the best in the business. Okay, asking what they think about the youth coming through in Wanganui with the Warrior teams. Stan, the young ones coming through in teams in Wanganui?
Yeah, no, good on them, and they're doing well. And, so I just wish them all the best. And I don't know a lot of the younger ones, but Sonia seems to know them because they've all been through Mini Stocks in Paradise. And she said, "Oh, there's one of my kids that used to race, she knows them all." But but I've read a bit about them, and they're doing really well.
Yeah, these young kids coming through, Tony? Yeah, they all want to do teams, and bloody yes, most drivers, these younger generation, if they had their way, they do teams every bloody week.
Yeah, that's right. And they're incredibly good at it too, and they're clever too. They don't get put away, and they're very smart drivers. They're very aware of what's happening around them. And the Whanganui team's always been a stalwart of Speedway, as this Rotorua as well. And it was thrilled to see the Rotorua boys, all those young guys coming through from standard stocks and winning the team's champs at Palmerston North a couple of seasons ago. And, so it's a bit of a changing of the guard here and there, but it's really positive for the sport going forward.
Yeah. Brian Walker, I remember that very well. Wellington and Rotorua, Pat Westbury versus Eddie Hawkins. Yes, what a race that was. What a race.
And Wellington still won.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, bloody hell. Always look, Todd Kelly Jr., always look up to you, Stan, one of my favourite drivers back in the day as well. The list just goes on and on. I'm watching you guys, Tracy Abbott. Hey, Tracy, good to have you on the show. Jason Wilson, Scott Honeybone. There's some great memories shared with these two greats of our sport. The focus is obviously they've both been on the podium with the GP this coming weekend. It's going to be a big event at Wanganui, so I know practice is currently underway, but tomorrow's the qualifying. There's some tough groups they put together.
Scrutineering at Sharpes
tomorrow, yeah.
Engineering tomorrow in Wanganui.
Yep.
So get up and see the scrutineering as well, people. It's all part of the experience when you go to these big meetings, I think, is the scrutineering as well. I mean, like myself and Kins have done a few scrutineerings now. We did one at Rotorua for the Triples the other week, and how much fun was that to just talk to these people and talk to all the drivers, whether it be street stocks, super stocks, or stock cars at Triples meeting, and just hear what they have to say, So go down there and talk to the drivers and have some fun and just get the whole experience of that weekend of the GP. And you'll come away thinking, man, that was awesome. I got to go back to Wanganui because that GP was awesome, If you experience the whole package of it, not just sit in the seat and watch the race, go and talk to the drivers, go and look at the cars, and mate, it'll blow your mind, won't it, Kins, eh?
Hey, you two gentlemen, legends in your own right. If there's a big legends race, all right, for an example, Sands decides to put on a legends race at Rotorua. You know where I'm going with this, eh, Tony? Chatty says, here's the silver bullet, mate. You're in this car. And then someone offers you a car, Stan. Would you two do it if there was legends at a certain age level, obviously, to get out there and race and entertain the fans? Would you two jump behind the wheel just for that?
I don't know. We did that Legends thing at Palmy a few years ago, and after I hopped out of Ben Sten's car, which was similar to mine, and I said, no, that's it. That's it. I'm over it. And also, Bryce Penn was parked there, and he's the same age as I am. And he said, no, that's it. I'm over it too. And I always thought I'd miss it, the driving bit of it, but I haven't. I've got a couple of regrets that I didn't get this person back or that one. And not winning the New Zealands, but the sun still comes up in the morning, and I've enjoyed my life as a stock car driver.
Chatty says it's all his. Would you have a pedal if you're allowed to, Tony?
Oh, mate, it's tough, because I drove. Steve Jude let me drive the Silver Bullet, and he said he drove the car and set it up a lot differently to the way I did. He was quite a conservative driver, whereas I was probably a bit more on the loud. And it was tough to try and get me and the car together, and I'd driven Clive Elliott's car a few times and a couple of other cars, and it's, people expect you to be able to just jump behind the wheel and drive as good as you did in the day, but it's just without a decent sort of a practice and getting in the groove again, it's pretty difficult. And a couple of guys got hurt at Palmerston, quite badly, and I think probably.
No.
But bloody old Clive Elliott, 75 years old, is the silly old fool, and he's still racing with those young guys at 75 years of age. Man, you got to take your hat off to him.
And he's still giving it the bloody hootenanny too, I might. He puts his foot up.
He's a fighter, Clive. He's a it's that whole cancer thing when the group and myself got together and built that car for Clive. He had bad prostate cancer and it moved outside the prostrate into his bones, etc. And he was actually in pretty bad shape, like when we went to Christchurch for the New Zealand's. Reluctantly, I jumped into the car because Clive was actually in hospital. You know, he couldn't even, he discharged himself to come to the event. But, you know, that car's kept Clive alive, really, and in many ways. You know, it's just been such a driver for him to keep going. And you know, he's had a lot of treatment and stuff. But, you know, that car's been amazing for Clive Elliott and a lot of people that support him. So, yeah, good on Clive.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of comments here as well, Clive, talking about the over 40s race last week. I saw Thomas Jr. Hudanu saying that he was up there and missed you guys at the over 40s. But there's just so much busy racing happening at the moment, Books? You know, there's so much going on this weekend up and down the countryside.
I think the key to it this weekend is go and support that GP in North Island, because we need to support it because we want it to stick around. I don't know who I was talking. Oh, it might have been Stan I was talking to. That said that at one stage there they were trying to kill that event, the GP title, and I think it needs to stay because especially when you look at the long history of that event, and the best way to do it is we support it and we support the clubs that run it. You know, because that's the key to it, isn't it?
There's been a few people talking. I think it's been brought up at SNZ and the conferences and that. About dropping the GPs, but no, I reckon it should stay there. And if some clubs don't want to run it, we'll hand it back in and let someone else run it. But it's really good for some of the smaller tracks to get a chance to run some sort of championship, whether it's Gisborne, Kiki, or anyway. You know, it's good for all tracks to have a turn at some sort of championship, and because you wait that long for New Zealand, it's about 10 or 11 or 12 years or something before you get it back again, and some tracks don't have nothing for years, you know. So I believe it should stay. So, and I don't think there's any promoters against running it, but it's just keyboard warriors, I think.
yeah, that's it too.
There it goes, keyboard bloody warriors, Tony?
Yeah, oh mate, I totally agree with Stan's sentiment, and that it's also a stepping stone for drivers. You know, if they do well at the GP, then they can, you know, look to the North Islands and then, of course, move on to, you know, hopefully getting somewhere in the New Zealand Champs. So it's all good experience and good laps with, you know, top competitive cars and big fields, and, you know, it's all good. And like Stan said, you know, it just gives those smaller tracks an opportunity to have a decent field and a good amount of laps that people can watch, and the action will be aplenty at Wanganui. So I encourage anyone to go along and watch it.
Are you two gentlemen making the trip to Wongas by any chance, or maybe not?
Have you seen what I've got to do in Rotorua?
Yeah.
I know where I'll be most of the weekend. We've still got. I don't know. I'm probably my worst enemy. Sonia and I, we keep coming up with different ideas to build things or do things, and and our hot mixing's still not done, but that gets done Monday now, they tell us. So we've got to clear all that again after the meeting. We've got a club night tomorrow night, so so I've got a bit to do.
Well, I could also say
I'd love to be there though. I'd love to be there supporting.
Yeah,
I'd love to be there because young Michael Rumney's been there, and we've had a lot to do with all the Rumneys. Always helped us, and we helped them way back. And it would be good to be there, support them. But I'm sure they'll give them their best shot, and and all the best to all the other drivers. May the best man win.
Yeah,
and on the track, not in the steward's room.
Yes,
Tony.
Yeah, no, I can't make it, unfortunately, but I'll probably see if I can live stream it somewhere. I don't even have internet at home, so I'm on my cell phone, but we don't even have internet up here, you know. Wellington's a bit backward.
You still live up there in the sticks, do you, Tony?
Yeah, mate. Remember when you got your bus stuck when you come up here, Stan?
Yeah, well, right. Lucky you had a digger to pull me out.
Those ponds kept us up all night until all the alcohol was gone.
Now he doesn't drink at all.
Oh, Frankie?
No, he hasn't drunk for years, probably 10,
Okay.
12 years. Yeah, no, he
And you
completely
don't drink it either, Stan, do
no.
you?
Not much, no.
Ginger beer.
No, I actually drink zero most of the time. Frankie actually has just started drinking zero
I'm the
too, but
same.
he doesn't. So,
Yeah.
no, it's
I'm the
yeah,
I drink mainly zeros now.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you wake up in the morning feeling sharp. You can go through checkpoints and all. There's no problem at all, you know. Because when I got stopped last year and I had about 5 or 6 zeros or something, and leaving the club rooms in Rotorua, and Sonia was behind me and she'd had a couple. Anyway, this lady cop, she said, you know, blow in here. So yeah, blew in there. And I said, oh, what was the reading? And she said, why? And I said, well, I just want to know what the reading. She said, 0. And I said, oh, well, that's good because I've had 6 or 8 bottles. And she said, oh, wait a minute, I'll go and get another tester. It might be faulty. It came back 0 too. So yeah.
Actually, I got
Oh,
to
it's
say,
interesting.
the
That
club
whole
rooms
thing.
has zeros. The club rooms, your club rooms has zeros. That's all.
Yeah, we
we're
both
having
had
here.
one on Saturday night. But hey, you got
But then when I
got
get
a
home,
big.
get home and I have a couple of rums. So.
So we've got the big meeting this weekend. GP people, you need to go support the Wanganui Club for the GP. If you can't make it, the Pits Media will live stream it. Down in Woodford Glen, they've got their stock car teams, Canterbury Modifieds and
New
GP
Zealand.
Modifieds down there.
Yeah.
And they've got the 1, 2, 3 NZ Modifieds all there this weekend, so that's pretty cool. Club night, obviously, at Rotors on Friday. And I can let everyone know that after a call today from Steve Williams, that we will have, with the build, we're doing a build-up. We're doing actually a pretty big build-up coming up for the Celebrity Challenge in a couple of weeks at Rotorua Speedway. But I can let everyone know that on the show, the Wednesday night show, for the build-up for that, we will have Greg Murphy and Hayden Padden on with Steve Williams to come talk to you guys about that great event that's coming up as well. So I'll be at Rotorua Speedway from the Tuesday that week. I might be there from the Monday again yet, Stan. It depends on if I've got to go to bloody Huntley again on the 9th, so I might just drive through on the Monday again instead of going away home and do my build up there all week again and tell everyone my weather updates from Rotorua. And
We're promised not to lean on the shovels then while you're filming.
Put in the bloody work.
Greg Murphy and Co, they're in for a bit of a rude awakening, I reckon. They'll, if they get patched about a bit, they'll be like, whoa.
Greg's actually been to a couple of the 240s
Yes.
up there and he really loves it. So, yeah, he
he
sees
raced
what
it.
happened, but
Didn't he race at the
Different
Huntley
when you're
one
sitting in
with
the
Tiger
car,
Woods
though.
one? Didn't he too, Greg Murphy, I think? When they had Tiger Woods event at the Huntley Speedway that time. Remember that, Kins? Didn't Murph race in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Murph, Paul Redditts and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a few names there back in the day. And actually, that was part of an event that Red let out the bag. So hopefully he's spoken to our net. And Tracy said, you were dead, Dad. Speedfest. So they're hopefully going to get Speedfest back to wrap up their season at Huntley. Cheers, Tracy. Thanks for the wonderful comment. You guys are also keeping up the amazing job. Mark Osborne, obviously a couple of legends right there, 100% there, Mark. And good to see you and your young fella back out there on the track in the Stout, going hard, doing what you do, mate, loving Speedway. And that's just about a wrap. Anything else you two great legends want to say to each other, or anything you want to say to the fans, or you're all good? Nothing else? Any last words?
I'll probably see you at Team
Merry Christmas.
Champs.
Keep yourself safe. Sorry, Stan, you go.
Yeah, probably see you at Team Champs and we'll have a beer. Unless you're coming up for the 240s again this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And to everybody else, I might come through this year, Stan. So, so everyone else, have a great Christmas and a safe New Year. And, attend your local events and have fun and enjoy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Awesome.
Same to everyone. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk again around the traps, but thanks for taking the time to come talk to us, Aikens.
Oh, 100%, mate. You know, and no doubt we'll catch up with you two gentlemen trackside together. Don't be shy. We'll have a microphone there. We'll share a few laughs and have a couple of zeros together. Yes, we do. And We won't get in any trouble, but we'll have fun. You know, that's what it's about. We've enjoyed the fun you two shared with us, your memories. Two greats, especially with the GP and the history of the racing. When you take a look at where it started way back in the mid-70s and where it is to now. 58 drivers, I think, competing. 6 going through from each group will be 24, then couple from the repercharge and get along to Sharp. What is it? Sharp?
Is it
Sharpen or something?
Yeah, Sharpen, I think it is.
Light. There's haulage. Get on there, check out the scrutineer and everything. So, yeah, go and enjoy. Pits Media, Jason, the team will be there as well. Cheers, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that was awesome, kids. What another great night. So we will be back with you. We may see some live racing on Sunday night with our modified series again. I might give you some live sim racing on there. But other than that, we will see them all back again next Wednesday, kids.
Awesome.
We're going to go and buy our Pits Media streams for Wanganui this weekend and get into it, mate.
Yeah, hard out. Yeah, Hayden's Race Speedway, Sprint Car and Street Stock. Yes. Thanks again, Warren. Thanks to everyone who's put in the wonderful comments. That's why we do the show, is to keep you informed about things happening around as much as we can do as well. So be positive, be safe out there when you head off this weekend. And I hope to catch you with a few people this Sunday at Waharoa when I jump behind the race wheel and have a bit of fun. So that's what it's all about. Take care, everyone. See you later.
Thank you. See you later.
Welcome along, everyone. What was it like, that experience, jumping into your first race?
It's been my life ever since I can remember.
Look, it really was unbelievable.
I think it's awesome.
Just go out there and give it your all every time. And
When you're young and you get in the old man super stock and you wreck it, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Craig Booker with the big smile. He is the voice that's behind what you get to hear every Sunday night.
Give it the hoot, Eddie. Look at that field. Doesn't it look fantastic?